Hello, my name's Callum Finlayson. I'm a solutions architect for Informatica. Today I'm going to be going through a brief demonstration of Informatica's reference data management solution. So to begin with, what is master data and what's reference data? Master data comprises of really three components: entity data, so people and products; relationship data, the relationships between those people and products and other entities; and then reference data. And interestingly, reference data can actually have relationship data as well, such as subtypes or roll-ups. So master data really contributes to 80% of the problems, but is really only 20% of the data, whereas transactional data is 80% of the data, so the largest set of data, and only 20% of the problems. So we're going to be focusing on master data. Now, Charter gave me a spreadsheet of some reference data, and you can see here that there's a number of different fields, and scrolling down to the bottom here, there's some color codes which correspond to these worksheets. So there's various worksheets here with different reference codes and different reference data. In this session, I'm going to be focusing on two of those tabs. So looking at the bottom tab, I'm going to be looking at dwelling type codes or the dwelling type worksheet in the data, and you can see that there's a number of different codes and fields, so 5 different fields. Now there's a few different approaches that I can take to handle this reference data. So the first thing that I'm going to do is find a little bit more out about it. So I open up the data quality tool to do an initial profile on that data. And what a profile does is it looks at the individual fields. You can see there. When I highlight the field, I can see the values on the right hand side that make up that field. So if I have a look at these values, I can see the patterns and there are 2 codes. I can see some other descriptions. I can see there's a question mark there, so I'm going to just drill down and see, what does that mean. So down the bottom there, I can see the corresponding records or the reference codes that are related to those question marks. And immediately I have an idea of what kind of cleansing rules I might want, if I do want any, or validation if I don't want to move any reference codes in. So moving the data from the file into our reference data management solution, I create a mapping. So I've opened up this mapping now, and on the left hand side you can see the flat file, and on the right hand side you can see the 2 MDM tables. Now in actual fact there's populating many more tables in behind the scenes, but that's handled automatically. You can see here in the MDM solution that we're using a particular data model. Now this data model is very simple, but in its simplicity lies its complexity, or its ability to handle many different codes and data types. So you've got code type up the top, which handles various codes, and then codes on the bottom left hand side there's attributes. Directly below the code relationship table handles the relationships between particular codes. So things like subtypes, codes actually might be the same as each other, and you can define as many relationships as applicable to your data. On the right hand side, the reference data table handles different versions of reference data. Because organizations often get reference data from other organizations, it's important that we are able to seamlessly handle those different versions that get imported and get sent to the organization. So this is how we handle that. So I'm now going to log into the Informatica Data Director, or IDD, as the admin user. This is our data stewardship interface. I've already loaded in the data, some of the data from the spreadsheet in the process that I described before. I just do a a search on the code AA, and now I'm opening, I've seen there's 2 records, I'm opening one of those records, and I can see the code, I can see its description, and I can see it's the attributes that are related to that code underneath. So you can see the codes there. And if I switch back to the Excel spreadsheet, I can see that those codes correspond to that spreadsheet because I've loaded that data in. Now moving back to the data director, I can get a visual representation of the codes here. And there's 2 relationship types here, so you can see that there's 2 subcode relationships as one type, and that's related to the dwelling type. And down the bottom in black, you can see that I've created a same as code. Now, I've inferred that relationship based on the fact that they both have AA as their code. That might not be correct. It's just something that I thought I'd show. I've filtered now on certain relationships because I don't want to see the same as codes anymore, and I've expanded the relationships to show all of the relationships, which gets a little unwieldy, so I'm changing to Explorer view, and that's a more appropriate way to look at lots of relationships on a screen. So that's the Explorer view of relationships. Right now I'm going to get rid of the code and show how we can use phonetic terms to search on things. So I'm searching on duplex in the description. It doesn't find anything. If I do an extended search, what this is doing is using our phonetic or fuzzy algorithms, so it's a not exact search, but it matches each record out of 100, and I can see that there's a few duplexes. So I'll open up one of those. Again, I can see all of the attributes, the connected attributes to the duplex AB code underneath the golden record. And again, I could open the hierarchy. It would look very similar to what we saw before. So I'm just going to log out of the Informatica Data Director as the admin user and then log back in as another user. So I'm going to log you back in as the reference data user. The reference data user is a user that has a limited set of permissions. And what I mean by that is when I create a new record with this reference data user, it won't be immediately active. It'll need to be approved. So I'm going to have a look back at the data that you provided me. The contact or call details data, I'll enter that in just to show you another example of how we can actually enter in manually the data through the IDD. Previously with the dwelling data, that was imported, but likewise we can enter it through this IDD interface, or indeed you could interface with other systems, calling the web services that Informatica MDM provide dynamically out of the box. So here I'm creating the reference data code and the description up the top, and then the attributes down the bottom. So that's the first. I'll create 4 records. Now you can see there that we only have access to send for approval, not save. And so when I click send for approval, a task dialog box comes up, and I can enter in any details, any specifics that I want the approver to know. I can also change things like the importance. I can change things like the due date, and I could actually choose who the task sends to. So while I enter a couple of other a couple of other codes, it's worth mentioning that the workflow tool behind the scenes is a completely BPEL compliant workflow engine. What I mean by that is it's a standalone tool that is completely integrated into MDM. But the reason I draw attention to it is that it's very complete. You can do parallel approval processes. You can have email approvals, so people don't necessarily have to log into the IDD. They can send emails as their approval with certain text. It can orchestrate with other systems as well, so system-to-system interaction. Everything that a fully fledged workflow tool should be able to provide. So I'm entering the last couple of reference codes, and what I'm going to do, one final one here. What I'm going to do here is, after I've entered this code, I'm going to log out and log in as the approver. So the approver is the reference data manager, and the reference data manager will see on the dashboard initially. It's worth pointing out that the dashboard is a completely configurable area. So usually I'll have certain graphs and charts that are relevant to my role. So I'm logging out here, and I'm going to log in as the reference data manager. And the reference data manager will, when we log in, we'll see the 4 tasks that we've created. So you can see we've got just 4 send for approval tasks. If I click on that little button there, it's the details of the task, and I can open into the task from there. And then it's just an approval. I could reject this and it would go back to the user. If there was some problem, I could actually edit the information in the task as well if I wanted to. But you can see it says that it's in a pending state at the moment, and once I approve it, it'll be an active record ready to be searched on. So this is just a single step approval process, but as I mentioned, it could be a parallel approval process. It could be multiple steps requiring different business users, business units to approve this particular the particular change. It's really up to how you set it up. So I'm entering in the last code here. You can see also that down the bottom here you've got the attribute as well, so or attribute or attributes if there were many. In this case there's only one. And so now I've approved all of those codes, those new codes. I can now search on them. Previously I wouldn't have been able to search on them because they were pending. Now if I open up the search query, I have various fields, and I can set up whatever fields I want to search on. I'm just going to search on code 1, and you can see the code that we entered and then approved is now there. Likewise code 2. I can use different search criteria as well. So if I just search on the contact code type, it'll bring back all of the contact type codes. So quite flexible. So what we've just gone through is Informatica's reference data management solution. It is worth noting though, Informatica's MDM solution, this exact same solution can be used to master data from a number of different domains. These can be individual domains of data such as customer, location, product, chart of accounts, reference data, or even multiple domains together. So to not only master the data but to capture rich set of cross-domain relationships, such as a customer owns a product, an organization rolls up to another organization, an organization is doing business at a location, or codes being a subcode of another code. So this demonstration showed the reference data management specific side of things, but using the exact same solution, we can master other types of data. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me at cfinlayson@informatica.com. Thank you very much for your time.